The story everyone is talking about in the US today, and we have the latest updates right here. Welcome to USA News. If you don't want to miss what happens next, subscribe now. Here is what we know so far. California called a fraudster's paradise, federal prosecutor issues stark warning. California is once again at the center of a growing national controversy, and this time, the accusations are coming from one of the top federal prosecutors in the country. In a striking television appearance, Bill Essayli, the first assistant U.S. attorney for California's Central District, delivered a blunt message that is now making headlines across America. According to Essayli, California has become what he calls a fraudster's paradise, a place where criminals are allegedly exploiting government programs and walking away with millions of taxpayer dollars. And perhaps even more shocking, he suggested that investigators may look beyond the fraudsters themselves and examine whether government officials played any role in allowing these schemes to happen. The comments come after a series of major federal investigations, including a massive Medicare fraud case involving Botox treatments. Authorities say California Dr. Violetta Malian was convicted in a scheme that allegedly defrauded Medicare of approximately $45 million by billing for Botox procedures that were either unnecessary or never performed. Federal officials say the fraud funded a lavish lifestyle, including luxury vacations and expensive purchases. Now, prosecutors are working to recover millions of dollars in assets and return the money to taxpayers. But for Essayli, this case represents something much bigger. He argues that weaknesses in California's oversight system have created opportunities for fraud on an enormous scale. According to him, medical licenses and provider approvals are being handed out without sufficient verification, making it easier for bad actors to gain access to taxpayer-funded programs. Essayli questioned whether the problem is simply government incompetence or something more serious. He emphasized that if investigators uncover evidence showing that officials knowingly enabled fraud or benefited from it, criminal charges could follow. The warning comes as the federal government ramps up anti-fraud efforts nationwide. President Donald Trump's administration recently expanded its focus on fraud prevention, with Vice President J.D. Vance leading a special task force aimed at identifying abuse within federal programs. The administration says it has already uncovered major fraud networks involving healthcare providers, hospice services, and childcare centers. In another significant move, federal officials announced plans to withhold more than $1.3 billion in Medicaid funding from California due to concerns about oversight and accountability. Supporters of the crackdown argue that stronger enforcement is long overdue. Many taxpayers have taken to social media expressing frustration over repeated reports of fraud involving public funds. Some users praised federal investigators for aggressively pursuing those responsible and attempting to recover stolen money. Others, however, argue that broader investigations should be handled carefully and based strictly on evidence rather than politics. They warn that accusations alone are not proof of wrongdoing and emphasize the importance of due process. Still, one thing is clear: the issue has captured national attention. Perhaps the most dramatic moment came when Essayli delivered a direct message to anyone involved in fraud schemes. His warning was simple but powerful. You could be next. Those words have quickly spread across news outlets and social media, highlighting the government's determination to pursue fraud cases more aggressively than ever before. As investigations continue, many Americans will be watching closely to see whether these efforts uncover deeper problems within the system, or lead to even more high-profile prosecutions. For now, the debate over accountability, government oversight, and taxpayer protection is far from over. And if federal officials are correct, this may be only the beginning of a much larger crackdown that could reshape how fraud cases are investigated across California and the entire United States.